Hi everyone, my name is Shanice and welcome back to my channel. I am sick again. I guess this is one of the joys of having to commute in and out of New York every day where people don't wear masks on the bus or the train. Anyway, I'm feeling a little bit better, but I did want to get a video out to you guys, and so today I am going to be showing you all the books that I have acquired since last July. I'm looking down at the pile and I think it's time for me to admit that it has gotten a little out of hand. Some of these I have already read, most of them I have not. I am excited to read those that I haven't read yet, but just it's too much. Some of these are quite short, they're novellas. Some are more like coffee table type books that I'm not going to be reading cover to cover, but I am going to be dipping in and out of, so maybe in the end it's not as daunting as it all seems, but regardless, looking at all the physical books piled up next to each other right next to me is kind of a reality check. And also I think there are 3 on the way that I recently ordered, 3 or 4. I will get to those at some point in the video. But yeah, I'm not gonna have any order to this. I'm just gonna pick up whatever is next to me, and I'm also not gonna go into detail for every single book because 1, I probably don't remember, and 2, I don't have time for any of that, and neither do you. I think you just want to hear what books that I have. So let's just begin. Alright, so the first one is kind of a prized possession now. I got it for Christmas, and this is one of those coffee table type books. I haven't started reading it yet, but I mean, I have it on top of my bookshelf. I see it every single day. It's like inspirational for me, and a quote from this person that is on the back of this box set. Maybe you'll know who it is. So this person says, "The act of writing a song is a unique experience, unlike anything else I know. You have to be in the right mood and start with a clear mind. You must trust your initial feelings because at the beginning you don't really know where you're going." And that was said by Mr. Paul McCartney. So as you can see, this is the box set of his lyrics. It includes 2 books. Oh, and that quote is in the back. So it includes 2 books. The A through K book, basically it's his days in the Beatles. Very, very beautiful. It just includes like a wealth of information on him. This is a terrible angle, but like details into his songwriting process, of his and John Lennon's partnership, of just, again, in this book, his time in the Beatles. It shows you notes, their actual lyrics that they wrote on paper, and just a lot of background info on that. And then book 2, which is letters L through Z, is his solo career. There he is on the back, and again it has just a lot of information on some of his songs. And so this is just incredibly meaningful for me because I love the Beatles. I absolutely adore Paul McCartney. I'm in no particular rush to get to it. I know when I encounter this, it's gonna be, very inspirational. And then another coffee table book that I picked up in a little library, one of the little red boxes that you find around town. I found Black America, A Photographic Journey by Marcia A. Smith. It details, very important pictures as well as people, figures in Black American history, including President Obama, but of course others like Josephine Baker and Madam C.J. Walker. So yeah, it's going to be a good book to learn a lot from. And then I'm just going to talk about a book that's next to me because I'm reading it. I'm in the middle of reading it, and that's Crush by Richard Siken. He won the Yale series of younger poets, and so they published this collection. This one includes an introduction by Louise Gluck, and this is just reminding me how beautiful poetry can be, but also how challenging it can be. I'm going really slowly with this. I picked up Woman at Point Zero by Nawala Sawadi, and I actually read this already. I gave it 4 stars. It's told from the perspective of a psychiatrist who goes to a women's prison and She meets one of the prisoners there whose name is Firdaus, and Firdaus basically takes over for the rest of the novel and tells her story. And we know that she's gonna die, she's gonna be executed, so it puts a lot of tension and pressure and urgency to the story being told. And it's told very beautifully. It has themes of repetition, and just it's a fantastic little short novella that you can definitely get through in like a weekend or something. But highly recommend. I got Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart, which is book one in a trilogy. As someone who loves reading post-colonial theory and post-colonial literature, I feel like, I mean, this is a huge gap in my knowledge. And I mean, this is one of the books that I'm most excited to read in this pile. I've been wanting to read this for such a long time, and I don't know. I just feel like, again, I'm not necessarily in a rush to read it because it's gonna fall into my life when it needs to. So yeah, I know that when I do read this, it's going to be very impactful. I also picked up, and switching gears really, Dune Messiah by Frank Herbert. This is book two in the Dune series. I read Dune last August, I want to say, or maybe July, at some point last year, and really, really liked it. So I just immediately went and bought this and haven't read it since. So, you know, another book in my physical TBR. But I expect really great things from this just because of how much I love book one. And sticking in that like fantasy kind of sci-fi world, I revisited A Song of Ice and Fire this year. I watched season one of the TV show in order to, you know, recap book one, and then I read book two, A Clash of Kings, and then watched season two, and I'm officially obsessed. I need to continue. I plan on continuing with book three next week. But in a frenzy, I not only bought the complete Blu-rays of the TV show, I also bought the rest of the series. I had already owned books 1 to 3, but then I picked up book 4, A Feast for Crows, and also book 5, A Dance with Dragons. So adding these two to my TBR, no idea when I'm going to get to them, but I guess I have all the time in the world because George R.R. Martin is seemingly never going to publish those last two books in the series, so no rush. And then for one of my favorite books that I read last year, it's really a short story that I still cannot pronounce. I believe it's Recitative. It's by Toni Morrison with an introduction by Zadie Smith, and I gave it 4.5 to 5 stars. I was really blown away by this, and the combination of her story and then going back and reading the introduction and having things explained a little bit for me, it really impacted my reading, and I recommend reading it in that order: short story first, then introduction, just because you just gain more information by doing it that way, instead of getting it spoiled. You get like a true first reaction to the content. I loved it, and yeah, another short read that you can get through in one sitting, just fantastic. And another short book that I unfortunately didn't like, I read this last month. I think I gave it 2.5 stars. It's Sandra Cisneros' The House on Mango Street. This was my grandma's edition. She got this when she was first starting to learn English. I think if you too are also learning English, this would be a good book to start with. And sure, I didn't personally get on with it, but that doesn't mean that if you pick this up, you won't like it. And another prized possession at this point is Elena Ferrante's The Neapolitan novels, The Neapolitan Quartet, all translated by Anne Goldstein. Book 3 I'm reading right now. So you have My Brilliant Friend, which is book 1. You have book 2, which I think is a masterpiece, The Story of a New Name. You have book 3, like I said, I'm reading it. It's called Those Who Leave and Those Who Stay. And then you have book 4, The Story of the Lost Child. So far, this has been a majestic reread for me. I'm discovering so many new things about this story, and I'm glad I picked it up again because the first time I did, I didn't really like it that much. I think I gave most of the books 2 or 1 star, and now, I mean, book 2, The Story of a New Name, is like 4.5, 5 stars. It's phenomenal. And book 1 I gave like 3.5 to 4 stars. So it's all looking really, really positive for this reread for me. And I picked up Afropean by Johnny Pitts. It's Afropean Notes from Black Europe. And Bernardine Evaristo on the back. She's the writer of Girl, Woman, Other, which is one of my favorite books ever. She says that this is an important, groundbreaking book because it turns our gaze towards Europe's Black communities in unprecedented ways, a work that reframes Europe. Again, really in line with what I'm interested in. I like reading about, Black diasporic communities, diasporas of any kind, immigration, reframing, nationality, etc. So this fits right in. And just last Monday, I picked up Cold Enough for Snow by Jessica Oh. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. This one I've been eyeing for a while, very short. It's an Australian novella, kind of meditative, about a young daughter and her mother. They're kind of wandering the streets and spending some time together and reminiscing. It just sounds like everything I want in a book. And again, it's short and it's published by New Directions, one of my favorite imprints, so really, really, really high expectations for this. And 3 books that I've already read and loved are Karl Ove Knausgaard's, I don't even know, I guess seasonal quartet, I don't know. But I have autumn, winter, spring, and I will get summer when summer arrives. It's been kind of a tradition for me to read these on the first day of a new season. So just so you can get a closer look, we have autumn and winter and spring. I wanted to eventually read My Struggle by Knausgaard, but I wanted to see how I got on with his writing first, so I figured, let me see what these are about, and then I'll see if I'm actually going to embark on reading My Struggle, and I will, because I really love what I've encountered in these so far. Another addition to my collection is O Caledonia by Elsbeth Barker. It's really not a difficult name. I don't know why I struggled with it. I know that this is kind of gothic, about a young girl who doesn't really fit in, who's kind of awkward, her kind of coming of age, essentially, figuring out her place in the world. And yeah, gothic elements, short, just like I like them, and this is just perfect for a weekend. I like to pick up books that I know I can finish in a weekend, because the weekends are when I have the most time to read, and this just gives me good spooky vibes. Like, look at this cover. Yeah. I also got Dubliners by James Joyce. This one I got because, one, it's good to have this in anyone's collection, but specifically because in May I am going to read this short story collection as well as Ulysses. So, keep me in your thoughts and prayers. Like many a creative writing student, I've had to read Araby before, and I've read other books that have analyzed this, or, other stories in this collection. So I feel like this is going to be a lot more accessible than Ulysses in terms of writing style. It's going to be a good respite from Ulysses. Also, what is going on with these new Penguin Black Spine editions? They're ruining, like, the consistency of the older versions where the white line was thinner and, like, lower. I don't know. I'm not loving these new editions, but it's very petty and minor. But yeah, you're ruining the vibe. A splurge. All of these are splurges, but this one especially. I got the complete Arthur Miller because I'm absolutely going to have time to read all of his plays. I don't know. I was just sort of in the mood to get this. It was $30. And it looks really nice. And yeah, I guess as a literature lover, you kind of have to have something from Arthur Miller in your collection. So, not a waste, but realistically, when am I going to get to this? I've had the Penguin Pelican Shakespeare since like 2013, and I have not finished that one. So who knows, but great edition. hope to get to it in my lifetime. And then let me breeze through some of the nonfictions that I picked up. I got this because I just watched the movie adaptation, which wasn't that great, but the subject matter is obviously very important and interesting. So I got She Said. This is by Jodie Cantor and Megan Twohey, or Towie. Ooh, I should know that. They won the Pulitzer Prize for this. This is their investigative work for the New York Times on the Weinstein harassment and assault charges and allegations. They're the ones who broke the story along with Ronan Farrow. I also got Catch and Kill. I've already read this. I really loved it. So I decided to just have it physically in my collection. But yeah, so these two kind of deal with the same thing, but in very different ways. So I'm just excited to see the real, first-hand accounts of these women, their investigative research versus the kind of shoddy movie adaptation. Super important to add these to my shelf. As is this next one, which I discovered through watching Halt La Mode. He reviews fashion, and I love watching his channel. And I think it was for one of the Gilded Age Met Galas. Sarah Jessica Parker, she wore a dress that was originally designed by Elizabeth Hobbs Keckley, who was a black woman and dressed Mary Todd Lincoln. And this was just news to me. I didn't know anything about her, had never heard of her. And so I did some research, and I found that she actually had a published diary called Behind the Scenes. So in here she recounts the events of her life, everything that she went through, her friendship and kind of falling out with Mary Todd Lincoln, and her career. I mean, she was a businesswoman. She made her own designs. She made her own money. Incredible woman. So this is kind of in the lines of Afropean and Things Fall Apart. This is gonna mean a lot to me when I read it. We are still not done. I also picked up from one of the little libraries a short story collection by Kurt Vonnegut, Welcome to the Monkey House. Don't know what it is, just know it's by Kurt Vonnegut and it must be good. And then I pre-ordered, received, and haven't read yet Prince Harry's Spare. What can I say? I like Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. I normally am not into gossip or anything, but I'm interested. Let's see what this guy has to say. And I'm starting to really like celebrity memoirs, just to break my more dense historical reads that I tend to gravitate toward. Not that this doesn't touch on serious subject matter, but, let's be real. It's not going to be as heavy as, Elizabeth Keckley's memoir, right? So yeah, the point is I've added this to my collection and I still haven't read it yet. And two other editions that I also haven't read yet along the same lines are the fabulous Michelle Obama's The Light We Carry and Jeanette McCurdy's I'm Glad My Mom Died. I imagine I am going to like both of them. When am I going to read them? Who knows? I got Stoner by John Williams, one of those books that everyone talks about. I know it's about this guy who goes to study agriculture, but when he's in college he discovers his love of literature and dedicates his entire life to literature and the arts, and the struggle of living and loving those things follows him for the rest of his life. So it's gonna be sad, but all I've heard is that it's beautifully written, really emotional and captivating. When am I gonna get to this? I don't know, but glad that I own it, I guess. And then some books that I thankfully have read. Trust Exercise by Susan Choi and Boy Parts by Eliza Clark. I've read these, reviewed these already. Yeah, this was one of my favorites of last year. This was an honorable mention of last year. Fantastic. And I read The Lord of the Rings last year. Maybe that's the one that I read in August. or maybe no, that was September. But anyway, I finished the Lord of the Rings, and then I picked up The Hobbit. Haven't read it yet, of course, but I am looking forward to watching the 5 movie adaptations of this one little book. Let's see. But I heard that this is a lot more like kid friendly, I guess, more jovial, kind of lighthearted and fun, and not as serious as, you know, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, etc., etc. So, The Hobbit. Ooh, one that I read. I actually just finished reading this. This is No One Belongs Here More Than You, Stories by Miranda July. I haven't reviewed this yet, but spoiler, I really loved this. And so I'm glad I own it. I love having physical copies of books that I've read and actually loved. Don't love the cover, not gonna lie, but glad to own such a fantastic short story collection. And one of my favorites of this year, I had The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Delilah Harris. I gave this 4 stars or 3.5 stars. I don't know. I loved this. I know that's a controversial opinion. Other people really hated this book, but it resonated with me. Just really fun thriller, in on its own joke. It doesn't take itself that seriously, but it was fun. One that I haven't read but I imagine will be phenomenal is Frankenstein in Baghdad by Ahmed Sadawi, and this one is translated from the Arabic by Jonathan Wright. I'm gonna love this. There's no reason for me to say that. I have no justification, but I know I'm going to love this. 2 more books left. Alright. I also picked up for my birthday If an Egyptian Cannot Speak English by Noor Naga. This won the Grey Wolf Press African Fiction Prize. Grey Wolf Press is a fantastic imprint publisher. And yeah, Shaylin writes, they had a review about this, they gushed about this. 5 stars for them, and I trust their opinion. Talks about diasporic consciousness, cultural duality, of linguistic anxiety. This is just, it's what I like. So, more high expectations. If this isn't 5 stars, I'm really going to riot. And then lastly, very important book for me. This is called The Manual of Dominican History. It's by Frank Moyapons, and yeah, it's Dominican history. What can I say? I am Dominican, and I want to know more. You know, I don't want to know the superficial things about my culture, the music, the food, the shows. Like, those are fantastic, but I really want to know more about myself and where I come from. So this is, you know, just one version of history. I am not blind. There are many blind spots that this author and historian has. Just, I can look at him and I can tell. So this is just a beginning for me. It's not the end. It's not the full history. Yeah, but I'm beyond excited for this. And this is not going to be like a sitting here and reading it from cover to cover. It's going to take me a long time. It's in Spanish, of course, and from the DR. I actually had a family member send me their copy. One of my most important pieces of my physical book collection. It means a lot to me. I think that is it. Alright, I am tired. I've had several coughing fits. Didn't think I was gonna finish. Apologies for my shaky voice. Like I said, I am sick. I hope to improve and not get sick for the next 5 years because I'm sick of being sick. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I don't know, have you read any of these books? I know it was a lot, but of the books that I have mentioned, what do you think is gonna be my favorite? Like, which ones do you think I'm maybe going to give 5 stars to? I'm curious, because I have some guesses. I mentioned some of them out loud, which I thought were gonna be like my 5-star reads, but yeah, I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. And yeah, I will see you all next time. Crossing my fingers I'm not sick and don't have this nasty little voice. So thank you so much for getting to this point in the video, and see you all next time. Bye.